Next up, the CarBuyer Advisor, your first place to turn for everything automotive. Taking a stand for consumer education and dedicated to connecting you with the industry's finest automotive products, services, and advice. And now, please welcome the CarBuyer Advisor.
Integrity. Firm adherence to a code of especially moral or artistic values. Honesty. Fairness and straightforwardness of conduct. Adherence to the facts. Honesty implies a refusal to lie, steal, or deceive in any way. Car dealer. Incongruous? Think again. There are, as in any industry, the top few businesses, the ones that simply break the paradigm. The ones that mind their own business and do it the old-fashioned way. As a consumer, though, finding an automobile dealership that fundamentally believes in integrity and honesty and then delivers it in northern Nevada may appear next to the impossible. Now, some of you have resorted to traveling out of our state to retaliate. Well, we commend you for your act of consumerism, using your money, your power to refuse to do it anymore. We are here to advise you the answer is not as far away as you may think. For those of you that have just put up with it and buy anyway, shame on you. You keep the ones in business that keep treating our community this way. There is a dealership that we endorse as one of the finest automotive dealerships in northern Nevada. Closer than traveling out of state and worth the drive to Yerington. It is worth the drive not just to save money, but to be treated well and cared about before, during, and yes, after the sale. And to have your power, your money, to go to supporting this kind of business. What a great feeling. Now, our next guest we have scheduled to be a regular guest on our show, and the reason we want you to start to get to know about and hear the difference. We believe this introduction to the proper way for automobile dealerships to operate will make it impossible for you to support anything less any longer. By taking your money away from the businesses that do not treat you the way our next guest does, you start the process of forcing them to rethink their ways or face exile. We proudly endorse our next business as a car dealership with both integrity and honesty. Please welcome George Green, Operations Manager, Wild West Chevrolet. George, welcome to the show.
Mitch, it's really a pleasure. I can't believe you got me on live radio.
I'm excited. When I first heard you were going to be the guest from Wild West, I have to tell you how thrilled I was. And I'd like to start by sharing with our listeners, because I know this from my personal experience. I've worked side by side with you, that you believe in one thing, and that's taking care of your customers. And I know this because I've witnessed it. And more than that, we've discussed on numerous occasions what really defines a business is, in the light of adversity, how you act. Do you act with velocity, with intent to make it right? Unfortunately, George, for most customers, when they find out what they really have, it's too late. And if you don't mind, I'd like to start with your dealership's commitment to quality customer service.
Well, I think basically it works out to you have to have a better understanding of what the customer actually wants. And so many car dealers want to shove things down your throat. I basically just ask the customer, how can I help you? How can I be of service? How can I give you a better deal? Or, it gets to a point where you just have to ask the question, Mitch. And so many times we get inundated with all the double doubles and the credit types and all the other things. And I'm just more interested in asking this customer what it is they want and how can I best serve them.
Two things you said there, and I'd like to touch on them both, because I think that our consumers, our listeners, I want to make sure they didn't miss that. One is, first of all, you have to care about what they want to even ask.
Yeah. I mean, you all know the golden rule is treat others as you want to be treated. But I believe in the platinum rule, and that's very basic. I want to treat the customer the way they want to be treated. I mean, I've been doing this 30 years, Mitch, and I can tell you that I'm not sure what a tweet is, but I can tell you that if that's the way the customer wants to do business, I have someone in our organization that knows how to tweet and Twitter and Facebook, and if they want to get a price over the phone, I'm going to give them without any hesitation. So it's about treating the customer the way they want to be treated.
Well, and then the other thing you mentioned was some of these gimmicks, advertising gimmicks that you don't employ, and we were talking about this before the show, the double-double, will double your down, or different credit types. And
it just insults me. I've been doing this a long time, and I've always done it a certain way, and I've learned to grow. Like I said, I started selling cars in Detroit in 1979, and things have changed. And what's changed is obviously the product and the technology that's available, and the technology that's actually going into the product. So when I sit back and look at some of these consumers, and they go, "Well, I'm going to give you an extra $4,000 down," well, where's that going to come from?
The increase in the selling price, or let's even talk about the bump sticker. Let's get to that one, because that's really where a lot of these marketing gimmicks come from. Is they use an addendum sticker to the factory's manufacturer suggested retail price, the MSRP.
Yeah. Well, we don't believe in having addendum stickers on the vehicles. Markup. It's basically an additional dealer markup. The dealers will tell you that. Well, our market is such that we have to ask more for these vehicles. Well, that's not right. It's customer can look online. They can price out a car. They know what the invoice is.
Well, you don't even start there so you can end up with more, because that's really what that's about.
Well, of course, it's about double.
And, and the doubling you're down, I mean, they're just raising the price somehow to give it back to you. I mean,
right.
Very rarely will you find integrity behind those gimmicks.
Well, I've not seen it, and I can tell you that as a consumer myself, when I look at our strategies for our customer success, I basically ask them questions. I want to know. We have focus groups all the time. We have mixers. We listen to what the customer has to say, and then we respond to that in a fashion that will give our customers, keep them enthused about doing business with them. We do a tremendous amount of business down there with the locals, and we're selling cars in Reno, we're selling cars in Idaho, we're selling cars in Vegas. So I had a comment last week where customer called up and said, "Hey, I noticed you have this car in your lot, and I got one down here, but what's the best you can do?" And that seems to be what's the best you can do. Well, we gave him a price that we can live with. It was fair. It was equitable. And I said, "I'll deliver it to you. So we'll pick up, deliver." We took the vehicle down there. We made a deal with a trade-in, sight unseen. And, we asked.
No hassles. It was
no hassle.
I can call up and actually ask what I can buy it for.
Right.
And get an answer.
Immediately.
And I heard that you actually have a program in place to try to make sure that customer gets that answer within 60 seconds if they call up and ask for a price on a vehicle.
That's our objective. Listening to our customers, they want a price. They don't want to be jerked around, very candidly. So being that we are in 84 miles from Reno.
Which, by the way, is not very far. It takes me, 60 minutes, 62 minutes roughly to get to your store. And I come out there all the time, and it's so relaxed there when you get there. It is worth the drive. And I'm saying that because I really mean it. I hope some of our community this weekend gets in their car and just takes a short drive and gets out there and doesn't get jumped when they get out of their car and gets to enjoy that family hospitality they feel when they walk in your door.
You couldn't be more on target, Mitch. Patty and Kathy and the group down there, they do such a great job with our customers. We keep them enthused. I mean, we look at our customer satisfaction. 100%, Mitch, of our customers are 100% completely satisfied over the last 90 days.
This is not your just saying it. This is the statistical data that is collected by General Motors, the manufacturer.
Yes.
And it is not fallible in any way. I mean, they get the direct information from your consumers. And that's really what I want people to hear. There's a business that cares at that level. And that it's important enough for you to be able to know precisely what that score is, that you care enough to keep on top of that. I think we started to touch on this before, and I don't want to skip over it because I think, I want our listeners to hear this part of it, because I said in the opening that it's almost too late when they find out what they really got, when they have a problem. And I think if something does go wrong, and really, regardless of how hard you try as a business, we all know that sooner or later it's going to happen. How do you respond when something like that goes wrong? Because for the most consumers, when they find out how a dealer is going to act, it's too late.
Well, first off, Mitch, empathy. I mean, the word that comes to mind for me is empathy. I have to look at any situation or any problem that a customer has through their eyes. Again, addressing the fact that I want to treat them the way they want to be treated, but having standards, having great manners. I mean, to be able to gauge that and to be able to respond to a customer's needs. Mitch, if a customer has a complaint or a problem and they don't tell us, they're going to tell 16, 17 of their friends. If we don't address that issue, that can escalate into, the circle of influence that could end up being hundreds of people that weren't happy with an experience out of our organization. I want to address it up front. I want to hear the complaint. I want to understand the complaint, and then I'm going to fix it.
You want the opportunity to, and that's one thing that I always said, and this is something that we saw eye to eye on, is the only problem that we'll ever have is the one we don't know about.
That's correct.
The one that we know about, we have the opportunity, and that's what I think what a lot of that I want our listeners to hear is that becomes an opportunity to you, not a difficulty to you. It's like the opportunity to prove you really care.
Absolutely.
You relish the opportunities to make them see and know for certain that they're cared about.
And I'll tell you, being it's a family-owned and operated business, you get that sense when you go in there that, most of our deals are done on handshakes. And I can't stress that enough, that there is a choice. You ought to come down there, give us an opportunity to earn that business. Just give us a call. It's real easy.
Well, and you mentioned, George, the one thing that I think slipped away from most other car dealerships, and you see this more in other businesses, unfortunately, than in the car business, is that, and I'm wondering if they even teach the platinum rule anymore. What's your version of it?
Well, successful companies as a whole, there's some fast food chains, whether you order a hamburger in Fernley, Nevada, or you order one in Miami Beach, Florida, consistency and the quality of that product is going to be pretty much the same. So for me, I look at it as the same respect. When a customer approaches us, I want to give them a consistent environment, a friendly environment, give consistently great service, be honest, and obviously build value in what we do.
I want to talk about some of the meat and potatoes, because now we've hopefully established for our listener base that there's a dealership that actually operates old school. You come in, you can get treated fairly, you can get a price, you don't get a jump. We don't use gimmicks. We're just old-fashioned. We care about you before, during, and after. And I'm endorsing that. I'm suggesting to our listeners it really exists. And if you want to find out if there's any integrity with what we're up to as a show, try us out on this one, because I think one of the most easy ways for our listeners to understand if our show is full of integrity is to try out a car dealer, because it is one of the greatest areas, I think, that you could read right through for us. And for us, it's also been the biggest obstacle is to have the right car dealership in our group of businesses. But let's get to the meat and potatoes. I want them to hear some of the special programs that are available now, some finance programs, rebates, incentives, specials that you're running.
Well, Chevrolet, obviously, is a great product, and the things that they've done to change it for the technology end of it, they have an incredible product lineup. And look at the Sonic, the 2012 Sonic, all new and offering, subcompact car from General Motors from Chevrolet. Right now, I've got one sitting on our lot. I might call those hogskin guys to do something fun with it, but $16,500 for a brand new Chevrolet.
Wow. That
comes with a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty, a 5-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Brand new for $16,500 plus tax. And
there's some really good incentives also right now, too.
Oh, yeah. There's rebates up to $6,500 on select vehicles. We have 0% on 72 on any of the 11s we have left over. Done a great job of moving our inventory. Actually, since we started the show, we've had some pretty great success selling Sierra trucks. So I think we only have a few 11s left, and we have our 12s coming in every day. We just consensed to getting 16 more coming in within the next couple weeks. So 0% up to 72 months, free money.
One of the things I'd like to ask you, and it's kind of off of our conversation, is, and I know that I have a preconceived disposition to this, because what I'm up to as a show is to get people to change how they consume. If they just simply stop giving their money to poor businesses with poor business practices, everything shifts. And yet one person might feel like their money, their power isn't great enough to really cause a business any harm. But as a community, if we rally behind a cause like this, we can and will make a difference so quickly that the justice is served fast. And without government bureaucracy trying to regulate these businesses, the consumers regulate them by their money. But with that level of integrity and honesty and commitment that you give every day, how hard is it to be a consumer?
Well, things have changed, right? I'm looking to give our customers an experience that has value to it. I want them to be comfortable. I want them to be honest. I want them to tell us what their needs are, and then I want to exceed them. Bottom line is, if I don't know what my customer wants, how can I satisfy them?
Well, and how do you feel when you go to another business and you don't get that same respect back?
I go somewhere else.
And that's exactly what I thought you'd say. It's exactly how I operate and how we expect our consumers to start to shift their paradigm as consumers, because really they have more power than they would want to recognize, and they can completely stop a business from operating if they just stop supporting it. It's that simple. So I appreciate that. I mean, we're probably more difficult consumers to please because our expectations, because of what we've offered, are higher.
And that's the challenge. As our customer base grows and we keep on elevating our standards and what our expectations are, it becomes harder and harder to do business. But this is what makes it so beautiful. I don't have to look over my shoulder. I know what I tell the customers the truth. I don't have to make excuses.
Well, and you don't have to hang them by the ankles and shake them hard until everything falls out of their pockets and every cent that's in them.
Yeah, let's keep them at the car store for 6 hours to throw their keys on the roof. And yeah, it just doesn't work like that.
Well, and here's the funny thing. I think most businesses, most car dealerships don't understand that the consumer that gets treated the opposite way of that gets loved and comes in and gets treated fairly and honestly and quickly, it gets a fair price and is in and out and enjoys the buying experience, is a customer for life. And they tell all of their friends that then become customers for life, and really a better foundation for a long-term business strategy anyway, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely. And that's what the whole shift has been in Yerington.
Our underlying mission, I mentioned, is to change consumer habits, to shift your power, your money to businesses like Wild West Chevrolet, and stop giving your money to the car dealers that insist on playing those games. George, thank you for coming in today. Please tell them how they can get a hold of you.
Our phone number is 775-463-3456, wildwestchevrolet.com. Go to our website. Things are priced correctly. Call Patty or Kathy, and they'll hook you up with a great price.